Let's roll. Welcome to the Combat Sports Report. I am Gabriel Morency on the Sports Grid Radio and Television Network. Shout out to all of our affiliates, networks, platforms, apps, and everybody else in between. We've got a jam-packed program. We're going to touch bases with a lot of different companies, a lot of different fights, a lot of different fighting formats of combat sports. And, of course, football is known as a combat sport as well. And we're joined right now to kick things off, so to speak, by a former NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, a three-time Pro Bowler, and, of course, the president and founder of Lights Out Extreme Fighting, and it's Lights Out 27 this Saturday at the beach, Long Beach, California. The one and only Sean Merriman in the house. Sean, it's always a pleasure, my man. Great to catch up with you. Good to see you. How you doing, Sean?
Doing well, brother. How you doing?
Hey, great stuff, Sean. A lot of stuff I want to get to with you, but first things first, let's talk about the card this Saturday in Long Beach. We had Israel Salazar on the show last week. Great guy. We wish him the best of luck, but talk to me about what you got going on this weekend.
Yeah, we got a massive fight down in Long Beach, man. Probably one of our biggest yet. As you see, we got, you just talk about Salazar on there, but also Tyrell Fortune, number one heavyweight, pound for pound right now, and got it. We hope to keep around after this fight, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but he could be the one to take off to the UFC, man. But Jake Babian's on this card as well. Devin Simmons is on this card as well. I mean, we're pretty stacked up, man. It's a big card for us.
One thing I've noticed, Sean, and we've been talking for years about your company, the evolution of Lights Out, the quality of the fighters just keeps getting better and better, don't they?
Yeah, and the good and bad part about that is, you can't have enough fights in one night, right? You don't want the night to go too long, and we're getting so many, fighters that's reaching out all over the country that's trying to come and fight for Lights Out Extreme Fighting. So we try to pick the best, 12 or 13 fights of the night. That's still a 4-hour show, which is a long night. And trust me, if I can have 20 fights in the night, I would, because we have a lot of up and coming guys that we want to give a shot to.
And you just said, you want to hang on to some guys. It's almost like you're in the college football landscape, Sean. I can't help but think, right? You're like, a smaller college who has these great players, and there's going to be bigger schools coming along. But it's a good problem to have, because the more successful everybody is coming out of Lights Out and at Lights Out, the more people will want to fight for Lights Out.
Yeah, I mean, just, two of the guys that just fought for us not too long ago is John Paul, who just won in the UFC, and then Santiago, who just came up and won. He was one of our guys too. And I probably should have pulled the trigger on the contract faster with him, because I knew that was coming. But again, we got some great up and coming guys. This fight that we got coming up on Saturday in Long Beach, for sure, is going to be one of our biggest ones that we've ever had.
How proud does that make you? How cool was that your guys go there and you see them win in the UFC? It's one thing to get to the UFC, but they actually win in the UFC. Come on, man. That had to be almost like a proud parent type of deal, right? Your guys are succeeding at that level after.
Yeah, it's like the proud parent who can't afford the kids anymore, right?
Yeah.
And you want to see them succeed no matter what, man. But really, really happy for them. That's why these guys fight. They fight for opportunity to better their situation, their family situation. And me being a former athlete, I look at everything a lot different. I want to see them win. And so if they take off to go to UFC and they have amazing careers, that's great for us. We'll look for the next up and coming superstar and keep building them up, over in Lights Out Extreme Fight.
Sean, can you believe how time flies, number one? But I've been doing this for like 24 years now, going on 25 years. And I still remember my first show. And I remember the week of my first show. And I remember thinking, well, I hope the station doesn't cancel the show after the first week. I was on weekly type of deal, right? I was like, well, all right, I got through the first show. Then I got through the second show. And then, time passed. I'm like, hey, look, we've been doing this a year now. And then here we are 24 years. But I almost had to head scratch and go, no, man. Sean's, the first show wasn't in 2019, was it? But here we are. It was in 2019. So walk me through like the week of like you know, or even the creation in your mind. Listen, I'm going to start a fight company. I remember talking to you at the time. I was like, man, you're pretty crazy, bro. The road to hell is littered with these like failed promotions over the years. What, you know, your vision, can you believe that 6 years have passed right now and you're going on to card 27?
Yeah, and you know sometimes people don't get a chance to see the work that goes in behind the scenes, and I see why a lot of guys fail. But we've been doing it the right way. You know, we started off very much as a local promotion for a couple of years, and we grew as a regional promotion. We don't want to be these guys that fly by night. You know, try to have a big card, spend a bunch of money, and go away. I mean, that seems like what's hot right now. We're not into that. So we plan on being around. We got a bunch of cool tech. You know, things that's coming this Saturday. Saturday, people will see new sponsorships, AI sponsorship advertising on the cage, on the floor as well on the mat. So we got a bunch of really really cool stuff coming, and that's for us. We're about building, man. Been around long term. We don't care about blowing up overnight and going away. That's not what we do.
Where did you get this business acumen? Because as you stated, people can be flashy and you can sign this guy and that guy and you want to do this and that, and then they're gone in 6 months. They're broke. They're bankrupt after the fact. And even me, I've thrown stuff at you over here. Say, hey, you know, you're going to go here, you're going to do there. And you're like, you know, we've got a good thing going right now. And you keep on systematically building it. This is almost like a football coach. Like you're running the ball, bro, and you're running the ball successfully. Where does this business acumen come from, you know, as opposed to like going for the big band flash and looking at the long term?
Mainly seeing everybody else fail. You know, I've worked with some of the biggest organizations. You know, I thought that Bellator is a great organization. I think they could have been a lot bigger. And you know, so being around them years, being around this business and this sport, being around the fighters and knowing where this thing is going with streaming and going with tech. There's a lot of things I've learned over the past, you know, 2 decades, and we're in a really good position. And we want to, you know, we want to keep growing, and that's the whole goal of this thing. We want to keep growing, not just go to the moon tomorrow. That's how you fail. If you build it the right way, that it's sustainable, and that's what we care about.
Dana White, obviously the ultimate mixed martial artist promoter. I know you know everybody and you get along with everybody. Has he given you words of advice about like, you know, all right, keep doing what you're doing? Or like, have you ever spoken to him, or is it more just friendly? Do you not talk business? Have you ever talked business? Has he ever given you any advice about running a company?
Not really, but you know, sometimes I like to use this analogy. When Aaron Rodgers came in and Brett Favre was there, then Jordan Love came in when Aaron Rodgers. You get what I'm saying? You can learn a lot just by being around people and having conversations. You don't necessarily need to know, hey, this is what I need
Yeah.
to be doing, and this is what I should be doing. You can actually sit back and watch them if you spend enough time around them. And I've always been that way. Now I would probably describe that as Dana and I relationship more than anything else, where I'm not going to him asking questions about this business, but more see how he works. You know, he'll go and he's still taking pitch meetings. You know, he's still grinding away, man. And so when you see that with your own eyes as somebody in his position, that's more important to me than him saying, "Hey, you should be doing this. You should not be doing that." I get a chance to see it up close, and that's probably the best describe our relationship.
Man, there's so many correlations between sports, huh? There's a great German player that just signed with the Vancouver Whitecaps, Sean, and all the players on the team are saying, we're just learning by the way he handles himself in practice, right? And it's sort of like they're just watching and learning, observing, and copying. More with Sean Merriman on the other side. It's lights out this Saturday, Long Beach. We'll break it down with Sean. Bring it. Combat Sports Report continues. I am Morency. We're kicking it lights out style with the great Sean Merriman, former defensive rookie of the year, three-time Pro Bowler, of course, founder, president of Lights Out Extreme Fighting. It's Lights Out 27 this weekend in Long Beach, California. And Sean, one thing that you've always taken pride in from the early days, and the technology continues to grow, you really believe in putting on a great television production, right? Not just for the fans that are in attendance, and you've got a great venue, at the Thunderdome there. But you've always been, your broadcasts are very sort of cutting edge, different angles, and you like to try different things, don't you?
Yeah, that's always been a goal of mine, man. I've been at this thing and just the TV business in general for a long time. And I like to be creative. I'm not worried about trying new things and not working. If it doesn't work, we scrap it and try something else. And so this fight we got coming up, we have our first live virtual advertising on the mat. So, people will see that the sponsors change in between fights, which has never happened in this sport. We'll be the first to market to do it. And, when it works and we can execute it, we want other combat sports and leagues to try it out. It's a great revenue generator for most people. And we know that there's some local and regional promotions you could try it out, and maybe hopefully the UFC look at it one day. I don't know. But this is big. This has never been done in combat sports history, and we're just glad to be the first ones to actually execute on it.
Sean, we're going to speak to J.J. Wilson in a couple of minutes on the program. Mixed martial artist, originally from New Zealand, lives in America now, but he grew up playing rugby like a lot of people in New Zealand, and obviously one of the tougher sports to play. AFL, Aussie rules football, super sick and super tough. I wanted to ask you, we really haven't seen that many former football players in mixed martial arts, right? In the early days we did, and, not that many super successful ones, Sean. Brendan Schaub, very successful in the podcast world, was a good fighter, right? So I think of him. Matt Mitrione could throw. Remember Matt? You probably played against him at some point along the line. Matt could really throw as a heavyweight. He wasn't shy to dance. I like to watch. He was just an old school, let's stand there and bang. Now with NIL money, too, and guys making big money in college, there's really, are we ever going to see football players? And why is it? It's because you guys just aren't, because I think you would have been great at it, but is it football players aren't used to getting punched in the face? It's fighting. It's different. How come we haven't seen like a super successful MMA fighter that was like, Oven St. Preux, pretty good as well, but you know where I'm going, Sean, with this. How come?
Yeah, to be quite honest, there wasn't as much money in the sport as there is now. You gotta think. Even when I was going to go take a fight with Bellator, I think in 2016ish or somewhere around there, I would have fought if the money was there. And now, you see the crossover, the Jake Pauls and all these other guys. What I was asking for back then would be a layup right now. It's like, here, have it, right? It's not even a conversation.
And you weren't doing it for the money, so Sean. You just had to you had to get paid because you already made the money, so you were already getting underpaid as it is in your mind, right?
Yeah, but I was also, I was doing TV broadcasts and I was working with the WWE network. So it wasn't necessarily the money. It was almost what I had to stop doing in order to go and take this seriously because, fighting is not a sport you go try out. I tell any athlete this: if your heart isn't into it, your head isn't into it, this is not one of these things you go try out and see if you like it or not. You do it or you don't do it because you can get hurt, right? You can play football, you can play basketball, but you can't play fighting. And so when I was going to go fight, it had to be a guarantee for me to go give up the other stuff I was doing so I could full on concentrate on doing that. But I'm glad, man. I'm fortunate that I didn't, and I got a chance to launch Lights Out Extreme Fighting because there is nothing more that I enjoy doing than being behind the scenes and growing this brand and being able to get behind these fighters and growing their brand. This is the ultimate thing that that I'm doing after playing football, which is already my dream that I was able to accomplish.
Sean Merriman kicking to us. All right, Sean, we only got a couple of minutes. So for people joining us right now, it's Lights Out 27, Long Beach, California, this Saturday. Like I said, for people stepping in right now, for people in the area, for people going to be watching it on TV, what should we be looking for? What fighters should we be watching? What fight is the can't miss fight As I stated, we had Israel Salazar on the program last week. I look forward to seeing him throw it down. But what should we be looking for, Sean?
Well, Tyrell Fortune for one, our main event. I always start with him because I think that, as I said before, he might be a guy that's just gone after this fight. That dude is I mean, I've met him. He fought for us before, and I saw him in person. I got a chance to talk to him, and I'm looking at him like, dude, you're built like a defensive tackle, right? Like he looks like a D tackle in football. Jake Badbian's on his card as well. I don't think Jake had a fight for us yet over 30 seconds or a minute. He's ridiculous. He's just a highlight. Drake Flores, Devin Simmons. I mean, God, you can go down. Salazar, who you talked about, also. We got some up and coming guys in this card, man. So if you're in SoCal Saturday, doors open. I think around around 4:30. Make sure you guys download Lights Out Sports TV as well. We'll be live on Lights Out Sports TV.
And finally, in closing, I know I'm a Bills guy. You can see it behind me, and you're a former Buffalo Bill, but you're a Charger. Let's be real. We all know it, right?
Oh yeah,
Bills Mafia love you, bro. And I know you love that, but we all know, your true love. I was worried about you last night, man. I saw you were busting the belt out and stuff. I'm like, whoa, hey, Sean, you enjoyed that ass kicking. That was one of the old belt whipping last night, huh?
as Terrence Crawford said, the buckle hurts worse.
Hey, but how about Harbaugh? You talk about a ground and pound type. If Harbaugh was a fighter, this guy'd be a ground and pounder, bro. He'd be a wrestler.
Oh, dude, he's going for the finish. I mean, he's one of my favorite people to be around. But he's a different cat, man. His mind goes to a place that most people can't go, and he absolutely loves what he does. But it trickles down in the rest of that locker room. That's why these guys are playing the way they're playing. It trickles down from top to bottom. This is a natural, true leader, man, and they got a good one in Harbaugh. I can't wait for the rest of the season.
Sean, it's always a pleasure, my man. Continued success. Best of luck at the card this Saturday, bro.
You got it, man. Thanks for having me.
There's Sean Merriman. Lights Out Extreme Fighting, Long Beach, California, this Saturday evening. Be there. Combat Sports Report continues. Combat Sports Report continues. I am Gabriel Morency. Thanks to Sean Merriman for joining us on the program. And really is pretty impressive what he's done with his fight company to, started in 2019. He's taken progressive steps. And as he stated, he looks at the big picture and doesn't want to spend a lot of money and, don't do things that aren't really worth it, just sort of to get headlines and attention. And I've told him a couple of times before, listen, man, I know a place in Seattle. Like there's a bunch of there's a fight scene in the Seattle area, outside of Seattle, at the casinos. And so you should start to expand. Go to Arizona. Go to the state of Washington, etc. On the West Coast a little bit. And he said, I got a good thing going on in L.A. I'm just building this thing up right now. And he continues to systematically build it up. But I do remember, like in the early days, he was having not a hard time getting fighters, but it wasn't the caliber of fighters now. Like he didn't have UFC caliber fighters before. Now, 6 years in right now, he's got guys that are going to the UFC coming out of his company and then winning in the UFC. An interesting conversation, that could be had. And, I'd like to, we'll have this. Brian Campbell, really smart guy. I like to talk to him about this, about other athletes performing in mixed martial arts right now. And there really hasn't been a lot of successful football players. Let's call it out for what it is. So you know what I mean? Big dudes, a couple have tried. Herschel Walker did it, but he was very old when he got into it. And Herschel Walker can do anything. But, Matt Mitrione, Brendan Schaub, Alvin St. Preux is a pretty good mixed martial artist. He's lasted years. He was a good football player at Tennessee, but he wasn't an NFL player, but he was a really good college football player. Eric Anders, good college football player, national champion with Alabama. But the thing is now, like you see now, like even the wrestlers, like basically like Sean said, football players make too much money. So now like college football players are making millions of dollars now. So like if you're a college football player, and even if you don't make it in the NFL, you're already a millionaire. Why would you want to get punched in the face for like next to nothing? Right? And then you look at the wrestlers now, like look at like Gable Stevenson and these guys. They try everything first before MMA. Right? WWE, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I act? Can I play football? Can I, please, can I do anything besides mixed martial arts? And, we see the Eastern Europeans taking over now. Lack of American champions. This is going to be like a thing that continues. The only sport really, and there's not a lot of them. That's the thing. Like, I can think of Steve Bosse. There might be a few others that sort of played hockey on the regional scene. Hockey players are fighters by nature. Some players, not all of them, but you know what I mean? Like, and it's just straight, that is bare knuckle. Like literally, they're bare knuckle boxing on ice. And some of these guys can really throw. And the big thing about the fight game is, like, that's the thing with football players. Like, they're big and they're great athletes and they're monsters. And man, they look mean when they sack a quarterback and stuff, but they're not getting punched in the face. Right? There's different levels to like everything. I saw an interview with SGA the other day, and he was asked about playing football. They said, do you think you could play? All these guys think, I can play in the NFL, the NBA and stuff, and NBA, all these NFL guys think they can play in the NBA. They're all delusional. And I think it was Jimmy Fallon, of all people. But he said to SGA, do you think you could play in the NFL? You're 6'6". And he goes, no, I couldn't. And he said, why? And he goes, I played football as a teenager. And he goes, I quit because I didn't like getting hit and I didn't like getting hurt. He said, I landed on the ball once and I couldn't breathe and I quit after. Right? So, you got basketball players, they don't want to get tackled and hit like football players. Football players, they don't want to get punched in the face like fighters. Like, fighters, mixed martial artists, wrestlers, they don't want to get punched in they don't want to do bare knuckle because they think that's crazy. Michael Chandler, who's one of the more crazier fighters, right, in mixed martial arts history. Like Chandler is a buckle up, bloody fight type guy. Michael Chandler told me once, and I was buddies with him when I was in Vegas. I used to hang out with him and stuff. And he told me, he goes, Gabe, I didn't want to be a fighter. He goes, I wanted to be on the rodeo tour, the PBR tour. Right? He's from Missouri. I said, so how come you didn't do it? He goes, because those guys are crazy, man. He goes, I tried. I did it a few times. And he goes, you get thrown off of the bull. And he's like, he goes, it's really, really hard, that. He goes, it's really hard on the body. And I'm like, dude, like, you and Eddie Alvarez just had one of the craziest fights in the history of fights. And he's telling me, I can't do that PBR stuff. That stuff's too crazy. It's like hockey players. Everyone thinks hockey players are crazy. Hockey players think lacrosse players are crazy. Right? There's different levels to this, but it seems to me the bare knuckles is at the top of the craziness. Combat Sports Report continues. I am Morency. We're kicking it Sports Grid Radio and Television and Network. Shout out to all of our platforms, smart TVs, apps, affiliates, and everybody else in between. We got a great show today, talking to a lot of different fighters and different leagues. And it's almost like fight season right now. We just had the Crawford fight with Canelo. 41 million people watch on Netflix. We got a big BKFC card coming up in Newark. PFL card is awesome in Dubai, and we're now joined by a man who's going to be throwing it down. J.J. Wilson steps up and then taking on Archie Colgan on October the 3rd. J.J., welcome to the program, man. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us.
No, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Listen, we're a couple of weeks away still right now. At what point do you start to go into that killer fight mode? And, you you're not such a nice guy anymore. We're still a few weeks away still right now, but how you feeling before the fight?
I feel great. I'm a type of person that likes to listen to reggae music all the time, so I'm always chill. It's like when I pull up to fight, that's when it switches.
So you don't switch. Do you switch when you walk in the building? Is it sort of like, you show up a couple hours before the fight? Because you've been around long enough to know not to waste too much energy, right? Some younger fighters get so fired up, they're drained by the time they enter the cage.
No, I'm walking out. I got reggae music for my walkout. I'm listening to reggae backstage, warming up. I'm nice and chill, and then as soon as I step into the cage and my opponent's the opposite side of me, that's when the flip switches.
So I know you're tired. I'm sure you've been asked about the jaw a million times, and obviously your jaw looks pretty fine. You're talking to us right now, but there had to be some apprehension. It's like a baseball player getting hit with a pitch, but it seems like you've shaken it off. The first couple of days at camp, there's always going to be those nerves, but it doesn't seem to be a problem for you right now, right?
No. My jaw's made 100% recovery, which is great. And for the beginning of my camp, it was just a little bit more of a mental thing, because I getting hit again. That was the thing I had to get comfortable with. But now everything's good. I was a pretty bad break. It broke in two different places, and it was a complete break. So I got some metal plates in there. So you could say that my jaw is actually stronger than it was before.
And just a freak accident while grappling, you get tagged there. Everything is sort of God's plan, in a way you can believe, in which everything happens for a reason. I know it sucked that you missed the fight, you were delayed, you were out, but was there any positives now that you look back that, yeah, you know what, I got better at this, I feel better at that right now? Was there a silver lining in breaking your jaw?
I think the silver lining is me coming out and finishing this guy. Once I come out and finish this guy, then I can really see the plan that the plan that I couldn't see what happened when I broke my jaw. When I broke my jaw, I was a little bit sad. Thought I was going to win that tournament. Alfie won the tournament, and I thought that I was going to run through Gaji and then run through Alfie. So that happening was a minor setback, and now I'm ready to go out there, beat Archie Colgan, and then that will be my silver lining of this whole entire incident.
A lot of people talk about Archie's wrestling, and Archie Colgan is 12-0, wrestler, Wyoming. You don't seem to be overly concerned about his wrestling, and you feel, okay, fine. Once we get to the mat, what are you going to do, even if you can, and do take me down? And I've seen you speak before, and you said, man, Americans really like to big up their wrestling a lot. And you don't seem to be too worried about what Archie Colgan, his wrestling game, is going to do to you.
I think about it. It's like it's not a wrestling match. We're fighting MMA. We can punch, we can kick, we can do jiu-jitsu. What I've noticed a big change in the judges recently in all MMA across from PFL and the UFC and all the other MMA events. The judges are not just looking at takedowns anymore. They're looking at damage. If you take somebody down and you're just holding them and you're not trying to progress and you're just trying to win the round and the person did more damage, the judges are not going to give you the fight. When I fight, I don't look to control somebody. I look to do damage and I look to finish. So you take me down, you got to deal with big elbows from the bottom. You got to deal with very, very high-level jiu-jitsu submission attempts. And so I'm always going for the finish. So like a takedown is this much of the MMA. The MMA is there's punches, kicks, elbows, knees, jiu-jitsu, all different types of submissions that, wrestling is only this much of it. So if you're just focusing on that little part, that's no MMA.
Do you feel that you're being overlooked a little bit, or they're selling this as like Archie's fight? Like you go on the website, undefeated Archie Colgan takes on, right? It's not JJ Wilson takes on. We get it. He's American. They're going to push him. He's undefeated right now. But are you feeling disrespected in the lead up to this fight at all?
Not really. I'm kind of used to it. They're always looking at me as the underdog, and then I come through and roll through the guy and, smash him like it's nothing. I'm used to it. They can look down on me all I want. I'm just going to go in there and finish him. Just make sure my check is ready.
as long as the check clears, right? Just as
Yeah,
long
as long as that
as long
check
as the
clears,
check
bro, you
clears,
guys
man.
can say whatever you want about me, man.
And let me ask you too, man. You've grappled. You're a great, grappler, jiu-jitsu. You're one of the more well-rounded mixed martial artists. A lot of guys in the era, they got one thing. They want to hang their hat on this. And we talk about Archie's a wrestler, and he's got a nice right. I've seen, you know what I mean? But at the same point in
Yeah.
time, it's not a fully, advanced striking game. But I think he can punch. I think that he can. But talk to me about your grappling. And, man, you grapple against Aljamain Sterling. You've grappled against some of the top sort of combat, mixed martial artists in different formats. And that's for the MMA junkies, isn't it? When, you're going to these other competitions and you're not making a lot of money doing it, but you're testing yourself against the best in the world.
Yeah, so I started with jiu-jitsu. I used to compete at the highest level in grappling in the world. I competed black belt world championships. I've done several invitationals for many black belt world champions in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I originate from Brazilian jiu-jitsu. That's where I come from. That's why when I was like wrestling, like in jiu-jitsu, wrestling is just the first minute. You know what I mean? Not even that, because once you hit the ground, that's when the real grappling starts. So I wrestled. When I fought Aljamain Sterling, I took him down 2 or 3 times. He didn't take me down, and he's meant to be the better wrestler. He's known as the wrestler. He even said before the fight, like, "Oh, let's change the rules a little bit because I'm the better wrestler. I don't want to have the advantage." And I said, "Okay, whatever you want." And then I took him down 3 times. So. It's only because when I fight, I do whatever works. If something's working, that's what I do. If my striking's working, I just keep striking. If my jiu-jitsu is working, I do jiu-jitsu. If wrestling's working, I do that. I feel like personally I'm so diverse that I could do whatever feels more comfortable at the time.
I know it sounds cliche to say, but it's hot as hell, man, in Dubai. So it's super hot. You fought in all over the world, though, like literally and figuratively, right? This town, this. We've only got a minute left, but you're off to Dubai. Has anybody, if they give you a warning, listen, stay hydrated, beware of this, beware of that. What have you been told about going there?
Well, I live in Florida, so it's hot here.
So you're
really
used to
hot.
it.
So I'm used to it. I'm gonna go there. That's the same as being here. I fought in Vegas. I fought all over the world. So for me, I'm just like, okay, it's gotta be the same,
Yeah, that's badass, JJ. We're big fans of yours, man. We got to get you back on the show again. We wish you the best of luck in your final weeks of camp, man, and we wish you the best of luck against Archie Colgan in Dubai, PFL series, Dubai, October the 3rd, ESPN. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us, JJ.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
There's JJ Wilson with us. We wish we had more time with him. Super fun guy, as you can see, and played rugby growing up, New Zealand, just, badass warrior type of dude. And I'm calling it right now. I shouldn't pick sides and stuff with guests, but he's going to win. You just see his confidence. JJ's going to win this fight. Combat Sports Report continues. Bring it. Combat Sports Report continues. I am Morency. We're kicking it. Sports Grid Radio and Television Network. Shout out to all of our affiliates, platforms, and everybody else in between. You knew we weren't going to go a full program without talking some BKFC. I'm super fired up for the Newark card for real. And Feldman was talking about how pay-per-view is not dead as long as there's a great event. And I do believe that. As long as you give people a great event for a reasonable price, people will be willing to pay for a great product, and the BKFC really is one of the funnest products in combat sports right now. And one of the funnest fighters is Chris Garcia, coming off a first-round KO win over Austin Lewis at BKFC Hollywood in the house. Chris, thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, sir, and you? And thank you for having
Hey,
me.
we're doing great, Chris. Congratulations on the win. I watched the fight, and easy for me to say you didn't really take any damage. You might have got scuffed a bit, but pretty damage free and perfect fight for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was perfect. Everything, it was good. I believe I only got touched twice. I believe just about that.
Now, what impressed me about you, bro, is your super speed that you bring, the pace that you bring, the speed that you bring. Could you tell early on that Austin was a little bit, you had him backpedaling like pretty early because you just come flying in, man. Your combos are so freaking fast, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so as soon as we told the line, that was my game plan. Just come forward, see how he would react. And so I seen he kept backpedaling. I'm like, okay, well, I wanted him to commit a little bit more, but he didn't. So I just had to bring it forward. And a lot of people don't know, but whenever he grabbed me, I threw an uppercut, and then that's what I knew it hurt him. If you see the fight closely, the uppercut that I threw on the clinch, he buckled, his knees buckled, and he fell forward, and I held him up. So as soon as he let go, I seen in his face he was already a little, shook. So that's when I was like, all right, I'm gonna finish him. So
Now you've got the boxing background, and you really know how to strike. You know what I mean? A lot of guys sort of strike wildly. I saw Bernard Hopkins telling Rashad Evans once, their former MMA fighter. He goes, "Stop
mhm.
throwing these loopy punches, man." He goes, "You got to go straight." And he goes, "You knock someone out by volume and by surprise, not by these
Mhm.
sort of wild punches." Did you know when you threw that quick left, man? Because, he was sort of bent over a little bit. When you threw it, did you know this is going to finish him? Or was it like, oh, he's knocked out after this? Were you surprised that clipped him enough that it was done?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised because I was just warming up. Like it wasn't like I threw it hard. I threw it hard and I aimed for it. And I thought he would have had more in the tank, but he told me in the back that he's never felt the way his legs were feeling. He said that his legs were like wobbly. He told me like he's been knocked out before, but he said he felt his legs. He said he didn't feel his legs at all. So
Wow. Yeah, and you know what? I got to be honest, bro. It happened so fast. I almost thought, man, did he just break his ankle or something? Because after
yeah,
you punched him, you know what I mean? Like, didn't you see like when a guy hurts his knee or something and he starts
yeah,
hobbling
yeah, yeah.
around? Because he kind of did that, but no, that was just him feeling wobbly, huh?
Yeah, he was just out of there, I guess. So I really wish the fight could have went a little longer and I could have got the knockout I wanted to give. But when a fighter doesn't commit, there's only so much you could do. I was trying my best to come forward, but he wasn't committing.
And it is dangerous too, isn't it? A guy can't be committing, but you can't walk into something, right? That's a danger as a
Exactly.
fighter, right? When a guy's not giving you too much, people think, "Why do
Hmm.
you finish him? Why do you finish him?" Because he can catch
Yeah,
you and you can walk into something, right?
exactly. 100%.
What's the biggest? We have, so many. You see, man, you're there, so I have to tell you. There's so many former UFC guys, mixed martial artists, etc. I asked them about the difference of training, and they all talk about, well, getting cracked in the face is just a different type of thing. But a lot of people talk. MMA fighters tell me, man, head movement's the biggest thing that they're trying to learn here. MMA,
Hmm.
boxing, you can get the gloves up, you can sort of block punches. Your head movement seems to be like, dude, like on fast forward. And did you already have
Yeah.
the head movement, like sort of skill as a boxer? Because is that one of the number one keys to being a BKFC fighter? Head movement.
Yeah, no, I've always had that, but absolutely, I believe it's something you really need, and also leg work, also footwork, because if you can't move your foot, your legs, you can't move your head. So I would say, footwork to get in and out as fast as you can, and absolutely head movement. But
So
you need your legs to be able to move your head.
you got in and out of there at about what, like a buck 19 or so, and pretty much
Yeah,
unscathed. So I'm sure you want to get in there as soon as possible.
as
What
soon
did
as
they tell you
possible.
after? Yeah, what did they give you any hint and say, all right, listen, Kiss, I want to hook you up since your fight was so fast? Any word at all? Do you know who you're going to fight? Do you want anybody, or is it just next man up? You don't care who it is?
Next man up. I don't care. Whoever my team wants for me, I don't say no to anyone. So I'm ready. So they didn't give me no heads up, but they did say stay ready. So
Stay ready.
we're staying ready because you just never know when that call might be.
Hey, talk to me about the crowd, man, and the fan support that you get in Hollywood, because they really seem to have your back. How much does that mean to you?
Dude, that means everything to me. I have so many people that go out there to support me from a little hometown called Clewiston, where I'm from, and I get support out there. I got a family in Miami, so it means everything to me. Like it's a blessing to be there in that platform for BKFC and just to do what I do.
Hey, Chris, great stuff. Chris Garcia, continued success, man. Let's talk again down the road when you get your next fight lined up. Congratulations. Enjoy the fruits of the victory, bro, at
Yes, sir.
BKFC 80 Hollywood. Thanks for taking the time to be with us, man.
Of course, man. Thank you.
And there's Chris Garcia with his badass. Check out the fight, 1 minute, 19 seconds. It was a wild knockout. Like you said, too, so Austin tells him after, I never felt wobbly like that. I thought, did he break his ankle or what's happened? Because it happened so fast and kind of clipped him with this sort of wild left, and he's all over the place. The ref knew, man, right away. The ref's like, yo, this is over. This fight's done, like 1 minute and 19 in, man. BKFC, man, is where the action is at, and the badasses are at. Combat Sports Report continues. All right, we're into the final round right now, so to speak, of the program. And, man, we really did touch all the bases today, in which we talked lights out extreme fighting with Sean Merriman. We talked the big PFL card. Really cool card. I'm not just saying it. Really cool card. I look forward to betting on it. It's Friday, October the 3rd in Dubai. The next day after that, we've got that big BKFC card in Newark, New Jersey. That's going to be off the hook. Really, the beginning of October, really, really cool fights. And in fact, actually, I'm in Vancouver right now, and the UFC is in Vancouver on October the 18th. But we've got some news. So we talked PFL, lights out, BKFC. Let's get a little UFC in here on the way out. So we've got unfortunate news, unfortunately, about that card, October the 18th. People are looking forward to seeing a big title contender fight between Anthony Hernandez and Rainier de Ridder, October the 18th in Vancouver. Hernandez is out, originally undisclosed injury, but Allen is in. So we've got a replacement. Brendan Allen is in. Hernandez is out against de Ridder on October the 18th in Vancouver at a card that I will be live at. We look forward to going to this card. For those of you that paid attention last week, we had Lou on the program. And, for the most part on this program, guys, over the last month, we've given you a lot of winners, actually, and a lot of underdogs. And last week, Lou talked about liking Lopez. I thought the number was too high as well. And I was like, you know what? Lopez really is a live dog in this fight. Not only was a live dog in the fight, he ended up finishing the fight, albeit in the second round. So now he gets catapulted into, what happens next. Everybody's calling him out. Ivalov is saying, no, he doesn't deserve it. Sterling is saying, I'll fight him as a title eliminator type of fight. So Lopez has put himself in a nice position right now with that win. It's basically like a plus 200 underdog that we cashed. There's no fights this weekend. Everything there's no lines up right now per se. Off week for the UFC, calm before the storm for BKFC. And, BKFC is always somewhere, right? They got, speaking of hockey, they got their BKFC on ice. It's too cool. Like I said, I really like this company and just their insanity and what they bring. And, of course, the big card over the weekend was boxing, this Combat Sports Report, right? I thought about it after. I was like, we should have talked about the Crawford fight. We were jam-packed with MMA stuff last week, but we should have gotten into that. It is combat sports here. Boxing is a combat sport. And all this talk, people, oh, boxing's dead. Yeah, all right. Let me ask you this. It's funny because Max Kellerman, who should know better, who is a boxing guy, stands up there last week and goes, oh, the UFC is so much bigger than boxing, and Dana's going to make boxing like MMA, and it's going to be great. And Canelo, shut him down. Said, what are you talking about? What do you say? And all you need to know is, so Canelo and Crawford were on Netflix. 41 million people watched. It peaked at, it was 36, it was generally 30, and it peaked at 41. And it started really late. It was 1 a.m. or whatever, right? It was late. So they got 41 million people. Do you believe that if the UFC was on Netflix that 41 million people would watch? The UFC has had one stadium, they had the stadium show in Toronto. They got 55,000 people. That was 15 freaking 20 years ago, right? Did you see Allegiant Stadium and what it looked like and how many people were there? The UFC couldn't do that. And I'm not criticizing the UFC and saying this, but don't give me this crap, oh, boxing's dead. No, boxing's not dead. Boxing is not as popular in America, but, shocking developments. There's countries that outside of the United States of America. What? Really? No. You mean it doesn't, it actually counts if they get 84,000 people in London? No, that doesn't matter. No, because it's not in America. It's not popular. It's because there's not American champions. You know what I mean? And it's going to be a problem for the UFC moving forward. They don't have any American champions. So eventually people will sort of be like, man, there's this, I can't even say this guy's name. They don't speak English. I don't how do you sell this guy? Why do you think the UFC got away from pay-per-view models? Pay-per-view isn't dead. You got to sell an event and fighters that people want to watch and are willing to watch. And, 41 million people are willing to watch. And by the way, if you follow us on X, we told you Crawford would win the fight. So you want more winning picks, follow me on X. Keep it locked in on Sports Grid. There's winners all day long on the network. Thanks to J.J. Wilson. Thanks to Chris Garcia. Thanks to Sean Merriman. Thanks to our crew at Master Control. And thanks to you, the viewer and listener, for watching and listening to the Combat Sports Report. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.